Thank you, Abosede. Well, the big story in business. Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee has concluded its 304th meeting, the first for 2026. With a decision to slightly ease monetary policy, the committee reduced the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points to 26.5%, while retaining the cash reserve ratio at 45% for commercial banks, 16% for merchant banks. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Solayemi Cardoso, also commended President Bola Tinubu's Executive Order 9, which directs oil and gas revenues into the Federation account. Uloma Oyemachi reports.
After months of tightening and cautious watching, Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee has delivered its first policy signal for 2026, setting the tone for inflation control, borrowing cost, and economic direction. Some major updates from its meeting include reduction of the main interest rate from 27% to 26.5%. It kept the cash reserve ratio at 45% for commercial banks and 16% for merchant banks. The liquidity ratio remains at 30% and the standing lending and deposit window stays at plus 50 and minus 40 basis points around the monetary policy rate. The central bank governor says the decision to reduce the benchmark rate is based on sustained decline in inflation, which has now fallen for 11 consecutive months.
In reaching this policy decision, the committee took into account the sustained deceleration in year-on-year headline inflation in January 2026, marking the 11th consecutive month of decline.
The governor also highlighted Nigeria's export performance, noting that export earnings rose to $50.45 billion, the highest level recorded in 13 years. He further praised Executive Order 9, signed by President Bola Tinubu, saying it will improve revenue remittances from the oil and gas sector.
The committee acknowledged the potential impact of this order in improving fiscal revenue and accretion to reserves.
On inflation, the latest figures show headline inflation eased to 15.10% in January 2026. Core inflation declined to 17.2%. But despite the improvement, the governor says the country must proceed cautiously to avoid reversing recent gains.
The outlook may appear brighter with signs of a stabilizing economy. However, the central bank has warned of lingering risk that may truncate the progress, including election-related spendings ahead of 2027 and global economic uncertainties. For now, the economy is healing, but its treatment must continue. Uloma Oyemachi, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, let's talk more about this development from the Apex Bank. And joining me from the United Kingdom is the development economist, Professor Ken Ife. Prof, good evening and thank you so much for joining the news at 7.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then. I think I should start with what you were expecting and the fundamentals that you think has made the CBN to take this decision.
No, I'm expecting that they will come down. I actually expected in the very last meeting last year that there will be a movement. But I'm so happy that the governor has pushed this through to begin to send signal that encourages further reduction on our inflation rates, the reduction in cost of borrowing, re-energizing the economy. And no bigger signal is more than the subsidy. Consequently, all the continuous drop for 11 months on headline inflation. Of course, the big driver there is the crash in food prices, because the food inflation that was sometime at 39% is now 8.85%. So that's good. And we want to see more progress in some of the other parameters. But I'll tell you what, the second biggest news is the Executive Order 9 from the president. I mean, this is hilarious because he has decided to clamp down on NNPC's squander mania. NNPC, from our oil money, the oil profit oil, it takes 30%, 30% goes to frontier basin. Effectively, 60% of this money is within the orbit of NMPC. And the whole country, federal, state, and local government, shares a meager 40%. So I'm so happy that he has done this. And that should cramp their style, because what they're doing is that they are burning the dollars, importing substandard fuel, and then I don't know what they are doing in midstream market, because they don't have any working refinery. I don't know what they're doing in downstream, because they should get out of those two and focus on upstream. And so that, and then now central bank is going to now get a lot more of that money through the system. And then all the other government, the subnationals, are going to have money to do infrastructure and capital expenditure. Because we have issues about federal government's stewardship of federal of the capital expenditure. So let's get more action on the side of the multinational, the subnationals. I even raised this matter during the NEC meeting, the National Economic Council meeting. So with the regional economies, regional development agencies in place now, collaborating with the regions and then pushing more responsibility to the subnational is the best way to go right now. And, and I'm also glad that the export is creeping up too. Yeah. That is helpful, because I keep on saying we must focus on export-led growth strategy. It's not export of raw materials. It has to be export of finished products. So we are getting to this point now when the central bank is beginning to look at how would they energize this sector, this export sector, what more can they do? And you can see why people are feeling that if more money is going to come through decapitation of NMPC, then we should be aspiring for $100 billion reserves in no distant future. So that should be our target for 2030. And then we should also be expecting the inflation, the exchange rate to begin to head towards 1,000 naira to a dollar.
All right, Prof.
Possibly.
All right, Prof. Because of our time now, we want 2 minutes to go. What would you say about the fear of the central bank governor with regards to, of course, election spending? He talked about that and other global concerns. What is your worry with regards to that?
Well, the global concern has been around, because even without firing a shot to Iran, the oil price sensitivity is here, and then the output, we're already 4 million barrels per year, per day, in excess of a quota. So we're already in that excess supply. Venezuela oil may come up very soon. All of them will point down to a collapse in the price of crude. But it's still keeping up because of the tension, the fact that the fight might erupt, and then Iran may block the strait. So that is why the price is still staying up. But it's inevitable. That's one price that we have to pay for having an import-dependent economy. But nevertheless, there is still hope, because we are still steaming ahead with our ambition to get extra 1 million barrels a day in the production cycle. So all of them will counterbalance. And don't forget that it's only at the foreign exchange sector that we worry so much about oil and crude. They only contribute 50% to our domestic revenue. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
All right. Prof, I must thank you so much for your time, Professor Kenny Faye, development economist. Thank you so very much again, and enjoy your evening.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, then. That's it on business at this hour. We would have more for you at 10 p.m. Next is Sports News.
However, the central bank has warned of lingering risk